Good afternoon, beloved community. I'm Melissa Miller, host of The Chosen Heroes, and thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. We have a very special guest today. His name is Dominic Halpin, and we're going to have a great discussion. Let's kick it off, as always, with targeted justice news and review for the week.
Where did the Rockefellers and Rothschilds hide their money? Much of it is hidden on the London Stock Exchange. They literally control the board of the LSE. Lloyd's Banking Group was founded in 1995. Yet, it has assets that total more than $2 quadrillion. The total number of outstanding shares is being hidden. This bank has more assets than all other banks in the world combined. It has 10 times more market capitalization than the entire NYSE. Do your homework and count the number of outstanding shares prior to 2016.
Spread awareness by getting a cool magnet, like this one, for your car or truck, from bestofsigns.com.
There are several ways to contact the FBI, from submitting reports of suspected terrorism to exposing cybercrimes. We have different links to websites, email addresses, phone numbers, and more. Do not stay silent.
Calling all digital warriors. Repost, share, and like this video on every social media site that's out there. We always looking for some awesome people willing to volunteer their time. Let us know what special skills and unique talents you possess by shooting us an email to tjustice2@proton.me. In the subject line, type volunteer. Looking for more targeted justice content? We have several channels online, 100% free, on rumble.com. Appreciate what we do? We are accepting donations and they're all tax deductible. You can either hit this link to do a quick submission of payment or send us a check to the following mailing address. We are a non-profit organization. We have several different items at our store, ranging from clothes, cups, and merchandise. Either get something for yourself or buy a nice gift for that special someone by hitting this link.
Thanks for taking your time to watch this video. And God bless, and God bless, and God bless.
Shout out to Sean, as always. He does a wonderful job of creating and organizing the targeted justice news for the week. All right, we have a couple of announcements. As always, I want to, give a shout out to Armando with Target Source LLC. He really is up and coming and, always improving upon the silent night, which helps, some of us with the auditory effect, the V2K, and the directed energy attacks. As always, I use it every day. So at nighttime, it helps me tremendously. And thanks to Tranquility and the wonderful job that she does for this community in organizing all events related to targeted individuals on tievents.org. If you haven't visited her site, I encourage you to do so. Every day of the week, you have multiple opportunities to plug in with those who know nothing better than what you're going through than our community. So I encourage you to, connect with others who understand what you're going through. And as everyone knows, and if you don't, Anna Toledo has been on a journey. This week, she has landed in Virginia. She will be dedicating a couple of months of her time and efforts. And if anybody knows Anna, she's such a warrior and the voice for our community and fighting for our liberation from this horrific program. She is doing a fundraiser, for her expenses while she is there for a couple of months. If you are able to, please visit the www.givesendgo.com/Toledo and make a donation. Upcoming guests for the Chosen Heroes on November 9th, Juliet Engel, MD. She is an author, a physician, and an MK Ultra survivor. So please tune in next Sunday for Juliet's visit and discussion with me on the Chosen Heroes. On November 16th, Armando Del Toro, who is with Target Source LLC, will be talking to us about the latest and greatest of his inventions. The one that is most well known is the Silent Night. And on November 23rd, Derek Robinson, who is the president of PAX International, will be joining the Chosen Heroes as a special guest. You don't want to miss that event. Other events, I co-host the Beyond the Looking Glass series for targeted survivor counterintelligence training. It's a bi-weekly teleconference. The next one up is November 8th with Jamie Rice, who is the quantum reality studies guru and has created the poly-psi method for countering these attacks that we go through. It's a journey of, inner healing. So tune in if you have not done so previously. And shout out to everybody who likes, shares, follows, and subscribes to the Chosen Heroes and all the channels out there. I so appreciate your support. We're all in this together. So before I bring up our special guest, Dominic Halpin is the founder of a B2B, business-to-business technology publication, TechNative. Dominic began experiencing being targeted by Neuroweapons in 2023 and has experienced a range of symptoms driving him to create the documentary Cognitive Liberty, Neuroweapons, and the Fight for Brain Privacy. If you have not yet checked out that documentary, I encourage you to do so. When I publish this podcast today, I will include a link to that documentary within the description. Dominic is motivated to expose these weapons and will continue to fight for full disclosure and regulation against electromagnetic torture. He is about to release his second documentary filmed with Targeted Justice at Targeted Action 2025 called Cognitive Liberty, Mind Control. Save the date. It's coming out this week, November 5th. So mark your calendars for that. You do not want to miss it. Without further ado, let's bring Dominic up to the stage. Hi, Dominic. Thanks so much for joining me here today. I'm just so excited about your guest experience and to hear more about your upcoming documentary. So the targeting for you began in 2022, but you became aware of started experiencing the electronic harassment in 2023. And with you being the founder of the B2B technology publication TechNative, did your targeting begin after a specific project you were working on, or how did you become aware that you were being targeted? And what events led up to it prior to that recognition?
Sure. So I retweeted something about the British royal family, and I had then, well, I tell the full story in the film, so I'll save that part. But I basically started getting gang stalked everywhere. I moved cities. I was attacked. And so I thought I've got to get out of here. But I moved cities. So I moved out of London to the south coast of England. I've lived in London all my life. Moved to the south coast of England, and the gang stalking followed me there. But interestingly, I only had one gang stalker. It would be the same person. I would go somewhere, I'd be going to the shops, and this person would be there waiting for me with her phone waving about. But it was, it was kind of very intimidating. But it was kind of just the one person. So I guess they didn't have the resources, the kind of contacts to hire people for that part of England. So they just had the one. So then the gang stalking went on for about a year. The electronic harassment then started. Actually, I was thinking about it a few days ago, because my electronic harassment started on Halloween 2023. So it's 2 years and 2 days now that I've been experiencing these zaps and shocks that respond to every thought that you have.
So 2 years of experiencing that, and it definitely a day that you can't forget. Halloween. But so you started experiencing that in your directed energy attacks are like responsive to thoughts that you have, in addition to being the gang stalking, which I myself experienced that in the beginning as well, prior to those directed energy attacks. It almost seems like it's a precursor of them trying to kind of, condition you to be in that hyper reactive state of, where you're in that fight and flight mode. And I think that's just all part of the many tactics that they try to use on us. So what advice would you have for those who experience the directed energy and the mind control technology harassment?
I probably wouldn't be a good person to give advice, because my way of dealing with it is just swearing at them and swearing that I'm going to end this program and I'm going to put you out of a job and that kind of thing. So I'm, I'm probably not dealing with it as well as some people. But yeah, in terms of advice, I would say we're going to shut it down. We're coming for them, and more people are taking it seriously, because I think we've got this, the neurotechnology, consumer neurotechnology folks now are very open about, look, we can now read brainwaves, we can now record your dreams. So it kind of makes what we're experiencing a lot more, plausible. So I think we're kind of at that point where somebody's going to say, hang on a second, these people have all seemed to be, but with the gang stalking, I think that part of that is to make us sound crazy. Because if you all of a sudden say, hey, it's my neighbor, or everyone seems to be following me, or I always see the same people, or everyone's taking pictures of me, that's when you kind of start to sound like you're paranoid. And this is why I think they do it, to hide the weapons.
Yeah.
They do that kind of paranoia component as well, so that you're kind of questioning yourself. You come into your house and you think, I'm sure I had another, I'm sure I had a full loaf of bread there or something, and things have gone missing, things have been moved. So it seems to me like that's a tactic just to make us sound nuts, to hide the technology component of what they're doing.
Yeah, it's like this perfect psyop of, just setting people up that are having these weapons used against them, and to make them, to discredit them and make them appear like they're delusional or maybe suffering a mental illness event, and, using frequencies to manipulate emotion and elicit anger and fear. And, you're trying to fight out for, your, what is being done in these attacks against you. And any action that is taken as a result of that is adverse in any way is a setup to just, to take that person out by, of course, character assassination, incarceration, charged and convicted of something, institutionalized, all falsely, to hide and cover these weapons that are being used against that individual who is speaking the truth. And this community knows how frustrating it is, because you want to confide and you want people to know what is possible and what is being done to you. But the rejection from it is just, it's where, I don't know if for you, when that first happened to you, it's just all like your whole world has imploded.
Oh, absolutely. Your whole world melts away. And obviously friends and family don't believe you, they start kind of, making you question yourself. And I do wonder how many people have been through the mental health industry who have actually just been a victim of testing, or they've been a whistleblower and then they've had their life completely destroyed. And I think that comes across, when I met a lot of the targets at Targeted Action, that certainly came across to me as being a big issue. Their lives have been completely decimated. Many people are homeless. They've lost jobs. Their relationships have broke down. Maybe they've had a divorce because of it. There's so many things. It's just a complete trail of carnage that this program has left. And there's no remorse from these people. They're still going. The only way we can stop it is to, put the kind of onus on everyone else and say, look, if they can read my thoughts, they can probably read yours too. They're just letting me know that they can read my thoughts, but I would be willing to bet if they wanted to read your thoughts, they could probably do it quite easily. And I think this is the world we live in now, is, we have to operate on the presumption that our thoughts are no longer private. And that means everyone, that's not just me. And what does that mean for democracy? What does that mean for autonomy? And I think, we have some very big kind of questions to ask as a society. It's not just the targets, this is for everyone.
Absolutely. With the big push, for the digital ID and such, I think that this is just, everything is leading to
The mark of the
where,
beast.
yeah, it's just like, the violation of, our sovereignty, our autonomy, our our thoughts and our cognitive, rights being violated in such an intrusive way. Like, you can't have anything that is sacred in a moment. And I think that was like one of the deeper pitfalls that I kind of fell into, because when your privacy is and your body is violated in such an intrusive way, it's like that is where you feel like you have no sanctuary whatsoever, because every single moment is intercepted, your thoughts before you even think them, and then the ability to just kind of override, and intrude your thoughts with, these implanted thoughts and dream manipulation.
Yeah.
It just goes on and on and on. And it sounds so, out there and sci-fi to so many people. They can't their brains cannot digest it, but it is the reality that each and every one of us live and breathe on a 24/7 basis. So something comical. So we're having this discussion, and I was hearing this background noise, and it's typical. I am live broadcasting, and I'm hearing, like, monk chanting music very loud in the background, because it's been tapped into one of my wireless speakers. And I have to chuckle, because that is just how they try to just throw us off. But if anybody knows, I don't skip a beat when things are coming at me like this, because it happens frequently. But I thought I would just mention it as a chuckle. So in the background, if you get any kind of it's like monk chanting kind of music in the background. Well, Dominic, you took your targeting experience and you turned it into advocacy for this community by creating your first documentary, which is titled Neuroweapons and the Fight for Brain Privacy. And can you talk to us about that? I just found it so beautifully articulated. You bring in all of the technology at the beginning of this film, that it's here and it's now, with subject matter experts speaking on it. The fact that we could be going into a state where people are working for an employer, and the employer is sitting there, being able to monitor their brain function and thoughts, making sure that they're keeping themselves on track to do their task at hand. So can you tell us a little bit about it and how you tie it in? Later on in the documentary, it goes so deeply into the targeted individual experience.
Sure. Well, it's interesting you say about the monitoring your attention levels at work, because did you know, I didn't include this in the first film. I was thinking about it. I did have a couple of interview segments about it though, but they're actually doing that in China already to kids. They're making kids wear neurotechnology in school. They're testing neurotechnology to check for attention on young kids in school, which is crazy. But With the targeting, I mean, with the first film, I realize the challenge we have is that we have to bring everyone along. You can't just say to people who are normies, hey, they're reading our thoughts, or, you know, there's this massive gang stalking operation going on. You have to kind of, you know, show them mainstream sources and the World Economic Forum and all that. And I thought, well, okay, so what I need to do is really show people that this technology is about to hit the consumer market. And so, as we know, military technology is usually 25, 50 years ahead of what we see on the consumer side. You know, they invented the internet about 50 years before we got access to it. So the idea that you know, what I kind of had, the idea I had was really to get the Neuro Rights Foundation and people who are, you know, campaigning for freedom of thought, that kind of thing, and the right to freedom of thought. I thought, as you say, get those subject matter experts talking alongside. Look, it's only a short hop from what they're saying to what we're experiencing. And so, yeah, that was my kind of idea when I created that documentary, was to try and bring people along from the technology side to say, look, there's also this horrific thing happening. But the second one is very different. The second one is purely about the targeting, and is yeah, a very different film to the first one.
And I can't wait to see the full film. And we'll be playing momentarily a snippet from the upcoming documentary, which is Cognitive Liberty Mind Control. But before we do that, you're on the advisory board for Targeted Justice. So how did you come to join their mission?
So Dr. Burr reached out to me after he'd seen the film, and he asked me. I had a call with Richard and Anna, and then that was it. I was pretty much, a few weeks later, I was in Washington DC, spending a week with them in a house, obviously while they were working on their targeted action. So it's all been a bit of a whirlwind, but I'm very grateful for it, because it's been fantastic.
Oh, that's amazing. And then you started filming this new documentary at the Targeted Justice, Targeted Action 2025 event. So what were your thoughts on the event itself?
It was incredible. You had different targets kind of, you know, coming for different days. So I guess people were traveling from all across America to attend for a day, and then you'd never see them again. But I met so many different people, heard so many wonderful and really heartfelt testimony, and I learned a lot. There were a lot of things I didn't realize about the targeting phenomenon. You know, as we kind of said before the show, the things V2K is saying to people, or the idea that they're putting family members' voices in people's heads and that kind of thing. So yeah, it was a real kind. I guess I realized by going how big this thing is, and how horrific it is. It certainly seems to be a lot sicker than just a government program. This is a very dark program that is going on, and there is a mind control element to it, I think, an MK Ultra element to it, I think. So you know, that was my takeaway from Targeted Action. But I guess seeing Anna and seeing Richard and what they do behind the scenes, and you know, pulling everything together and meeting the rest of the board, and apart from Dr. Burr, it was fantastic. And we had, you know, there were a lot of laughs in the house. We had a lot of fun, shared a lot of jokes. There was some praying, and it was wonderful. A really, really nice experience.
And were there any interactions that you had with those that, you know, were brave enough to share their experience in the interactions during the event, that just it stood out and it was a takeaway? I know that you have included those testimonies within the film that is about to be released too. But was there one in particular that just really stood out to you?
There wasn't one. I absolutely love everyone who I interviewed. I mean, I've been watching it back. Obviously, I've seen the film myself now 4 or 5 times, and some of it, you know, there's genuine emotion. And I guess because I've worked in the corporate world, I filmed a lot of corporate interviews and promotional, you know, videos and that kind of thing. So I've never had anyone cry on camera before. And yet, when I was at Targeted Action, I was having maybe 2-3 people a day crying on camera. So and you kind of almost feel like you want to turn the camera off because you're kind of capturing their really delicate moment. But of course they didn't ask me to, so I thought, well, this is going to make for great viewing in terms of helping us get empathy for what we're actually going for, because there's real emotion and people can see what people are really going through with in this film. And I don't think anyone's going to be able to argue with this much testimony. There's no loonies in this film. It's all really nice people sharing their really horrific experiences. And it was wonderful to meet them all. And I feel grateful and honored to everyone who sat in front of my camera.
Yes, and it is an emotional. We carry around this. We've put that brave face on, and each day we get up and we're in the good fight for it. And when you start to share, which I think sharing is very important, it's where we have the challenge is the receptiveness of it, but within our community it's a safe space we can share. I know some in the community, we have to know that, some people are just going to be negative, even within our own community, but you have to look at it from a frequency standpoint of how they're bathing us in these frequencies, which can put us in a more agitated or combative state too. So we have to be really cognizant, even in our own day-to-day reactions, and just taking measures like using breath work and trying to center ourselves, because, these frequencies are always, on us. So we're about to play a sneak preview clip of Cognitive Liberty Mind Control. But before we do, would you like to kind of give that introduction discussion on your latest documentary? And, you had stated it focuses solely really on this time around on the targeted individual journey, and the goal of it to help spread that global awareness for those that are unaware of the targeting program. So you want to talk to us a little bit before I play the clip?
Sure. It's a horror film. So this is obviously a horror story that we're living. But I guess I made it for people to be able to show non-targets. So I made it for the normies. It explains everything. Targeted individuals, of course, are not going to learn anything new in terms of, what this phenomena is or where it's coming from, but they are going to be able to show friends and family to say, hey, look, people are fighting this. There's footage of us, or I should say Anna, meeting people in Congress, 2 representatives of congressmen. I think that's one thing people will really enjoy, is seeing Anna behind the scenes and how much she is fighting. And I captured some of that on camera, and Richard, of course, as well. And I owe Richard a lot for guidance on the film, because he gave me a lot of great threads that I followed to add some extra content in there. It's a package for you to be able to show people that don't understand, and help them understand what you're going through by seeing other people's testimony.
Excellent. So I'm so excited to play a sneak preview of this, and thank you for allowing the audience to see it as well. So now we're going to bring up Cognitive Liberty Mind Control.
These are very covert weapons, aren't they? This weapon is designed to bathe a target's living quarters in microwaves.
They're designed to make the target feel like they're crazy.
Delusional. Fantastical, crazy talk.
It was the lyrics of the song being said out loud in a robotic voice. I froze.
I started to hear family members and friends' voices in my head.
If you're a religious person, they might try to pretend to be an angel or a demon or something.
There were visuals being sent to me while I was driving. There was a car accident. The vehicle that I was in rolled over.
Somebody is touching you and doing sexual acts, but there's nobody there.
They wanted me to know. It was like I could feel this vibrating.
Voices in their heads telling her, We're not raping you, we're just stimulating you.
We have confirmed that these kids are in fact receiving directed energy weapons and voice to skull.
Somebody do something! Someone! Freaking someone! Do something!
It was like a red hot poker going into each ear. I thought I was going to die.
This is wickedness and this is evil, and it has to stop.
My life went from normal and even boring to really terrifying overnight.
If they put you on this program, there's no getting away from it.
It forced me into suicide twice.
Electronic harassment perpetrated through the use of directed energy weapons.
ABC News has learned that shooter Aaron Alexis was kicked out of Navy housing just weeks before his rampage because he was raving about voices in his head.
The most horrific weapon ever made is being used on human beings. Our thoughts are not private. I will be launching the first counterattack against mind control in human history.
39-year-old Stephen Marlowe is in custody. The suspect is accused of shooting and killing 4 people.
Father, I ask that you forgive me my sins, all my past sins, all my present sins, and all my future sins.
What causes a seemingly well-liked guy to plan a mass murder? Is it mental illness, or as Minnie suggests, being a victim of gangstalking?
This isn't okay. I'm a veteran. This isn't the country that we fought for. When does this program end? Who's going to step in? Who's going to do something about this?
There's only so many people you can dismiss as delusional and crazy.
Wow, this is so powerful. I mean, and emotional. You know, hearing the targeted individuals speaking, it's something that just really touches me, not only because I understand exactly what they're going through, but again, the way that you deliver the message and tie all the pieces together, those that have committed these acts that are unthinkable, and, you know, it complaining of hearing the voices in their head and knowing that something is happening to them. It's like the big picture formulating. So incredibly well done. And it debuts on the November 5th. So how can everybody tune in and watch this on the 5th?
So that trailer will be, I think I've got it scheduled to go out on Twitter in about half an hour after the show. But the film will be on YouTube, X, and Rumble. So I worried about YouTube because, they've got some tough rules. And I think this one, as opposed to the first one, which was quite kind of vanilla, this one is very, close to the mark in terms of what might be their terms of service. So we'll find out. But definitely YouTube, X, and Rumble.
Excellent. And in the description for the podcast today, I will have the link to Dominic's YouTube channel. I did have it up on the slide too. If you search for Cognitive Liberty, that is the name of the channel, correct? Or are you doing a different channel for this film?
No, that's the one. That's the one. Yeah. So.
All right. Perfect. So how can the TI community help raise awareness about this film and help promote it?
Well, I mean, if anyone wants a copy in terms of, an MP4 to be able to share, to be able to send to their local politician, then, feel free to get in touch with me. I'll be happy to supply that. But yeah, I mean, I would say really, in the film, it does document a lot of the meetings and a lot of the things that went on with targeted justice, trying to kind of crack, members of Congress. So I think being able to document that we went to see Ron Johnson's office and Senator Ron Johnson's office, I should say, and Jerry Moran's office, and kind of, being able to say, look, we are trying. I've also got an interview with Melanie Britchin, who I know you spoke to last week, who obviously is chipping away at the UN. We've also got an interview with a lady called Galina Cadena, who is doing the same in Canada. So she's had a petition read out in the Canadian Parliament a couple of times. Both times the Parliament have said, we know nothing about this, but she's there kind of petitioning and trying. So there's multiple people. There are kind of multiple angles that we're trying to. I think really what I'm trying to say is this shows. You can say now to your politician, look, we're trying to get people to listen. Nobody's listening to us. Microwave weapons are a reality. The Frey effect is a reality. Havana syndrome is a reality. And we are suffering from very similar or the same symptoms as those things. So how is it such a stretch to say, we can't do anything about this? Or, in my interview with Melanie yesterday, she said to me, if the government can't protect you, then they are liable. And I think that is what we now, the stage we're at. We have to start saying you are liable because you can't protect us in our own homes. We are being microwaved in our own homes, and that is unacceptable. Again, we're having our thoughts read and stored in some data center somewhere for who knows who to pour over them whenever they want in the future. That is unacceptable. And so I think really with the amount of testimony and with kind of the bits you can clip out of the film to show to your politicians, I'd welcome that. Pester them with bits and pieces, follow them, reply to them in their tweet replies or their Facebook replies or whatever with the link to the film or with a clip to the film. If you need a clip, just let me know. So yeah, it's I think with the film, people are not going to be able to say we're crazies anymore. I think it's one package where you can kind of say, okay, this is really happening, and there's enough people here to convince me that it's happening.
So if someone wanted to tag their local politicians or all politicians that they wish to get this message out to, would you suggest that this trailer that you're going to publish is something that we could share and tag them in? And will you be having other short clips that are approved, by you that we can use to tag people?
You wouldn't need to get it approved by me. You can just cut them, okay. Download it and cut it as much as you want, or I can give you a copy or I can give you the clip you want, even if I've got the time. So yeah, I mean, whatever it takes. I'm not obviously making this to be an exclusive thing for my channel and to get more followers. I don't want followers. I just want this shut down. I don't want to be Cognitive Liberty. I want to close up shop with Cognitive Liberty. I've got my own business. So yeah, that's really the idea. But interestingly, when it comes to politicians, certainly in the US, did you know there has actually been an attempt to legislate against psychotronic weapons? It was a gentleman called John Kucinich, who was a Democrat politician, and it was in 2001. So you have the Space Preservation Act of 2001, and he tried to get an amendment into that act, which said, which banned the use of psychotronic, electromagnetic, mind control, nudging type technologies, brain nudging type technologies. And he was laughed at by the media. And so they took that amendment out. And so now we're being tortured. So,
wow.
So yeah, there have been attempts. And I think if you can kind of say that, look, this guy tried to help us, this Democrat politician in 2001 tried to help us, and he was laughed at a town by the media, which makes you wonder, kind of who's pulling the strings at the media. Obviously, we know about the Mockingbird media.
Right.
So, to attack this guy and to laugh at him for brain control weapons in 2001, he was ahead of his time. And if he had got that through, then maybe we wouldn't be in this situation right now.
It just all suggests to a bigger agenda of, trying to do this to the masses. And I mean, if this continues at this pace where there's no regulations on brain privacy, cognitive rights, neural rights, they're just trying to do this system over, well, I can't even think of it, overdrive or, reboot your central nervous system. And I mean, we're not, like you said, we're not these just nodes of a machine, right? And that's the way that it almost seems that the powers that be that are behind this they're just using us as those, maybe the energy, the data collection sources of perfecting, cognitive warcraft, because as Robert Duncan had said that, the battlefield, the future of battlefield is within the mind, right? You don't have to go into physical war and combat when you can just do system override on somebody cognitively.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the world we're in, I'm afraid, at the moment.
Yes, and I think a lot of people are just, they don't have anything rationally to understand or connect that the possibility of it is. We've, Hollywood has given us movies that, all of this is like coming to fruition, right? It's, we are in this state. And what I think is such a tragedy of it is the children and the future of humanity really are at stake. For us to be what God intended and designed as sovereign beings, and that autonomy and that sovereignty is being, intercepted by these silent weapons. And that's where the travesty of this all is. It really is if we don't get this information out to shut this down and to have, some regulations put into place. I think it was a recent article that I read yesterday that I can't think of the country right now, but they're trying to be put into place that your image, your voice, and your photos and all of that have protection. Because in this digital age, this AI, you see people running crazy with these AI videos, and it's getting into that fine line of you don't know what's real versus not real anymore, because it's so perfected in the craft of being able to use the likeness of someone else and their voice and generate a video that is not even, truth. It's fiction.
Yeah. Well, I think, if you think about how quickly that's happened with AI, it was only a few years ago when the videos looked really crappy and the mouth didn't move at the same time as the voice, but yet now they do, and it looks great. So I guess what I'm saying is the same kind of improvements on the technology is probably happening with what we're going through. And so how long is it before you don't even know that, your thoughts are your own? I mean, that was a big kind of question mark for me. When I realized they could send things into my mind, it's like, how do I know anymore that I'm even, kind of driving the car, as it were, so it's there are so many questions with this, but I think the biggest one is that I certainly believe myself, it's my personal belief that they can read everyone's mind if they want to, and they're collecting all this data in a kind of dragnet NSA type fashion, and they are then tuning into the brains or reading the data that they want to. I presume to be able to respond to us, it's as quickly as they do. It's a big infrastructure behind it. It's a supercomputer or something like that, I would imagine. But to be able to, I think we're not far from them, and I think this is really what they want, is to be able to read everyone's thoughts and then to have that as some kind of kind of master brain AI that's kind of reading from everyone, that's learning from everyone. But we are having our most valuable data stolen. Before I started getting targeted, I would never accept cookies on websites, because it's a matter of principle, because that is value, that is money for them. You're giving them money if you're letting them, kind of get the data and then be able to advertise to you relevant ads. And I'm like, well, if somebody's earning money off this, it should be me. If I'm the one that has to view the ad, so I refuse to hand over that data. And all of a sudden, they're stealing my thoughts and using them for God knows what, and who knows who is reading them. So yeah, I think really what they want is the data. There's a saying in the tech industry that data is the new oil or the new gold, and I think, if they can kind of get the whole data set, especially when, like now you have two targets talking to each other and they can kind of compare, okay, what does this brain think at the same time as, how do conversations work in the brain between two when they can read both the brains? That kind of thing. I think we're giving them all this data. Who knows what they're doing with it? And really it's apparent that somebody is profiting off it. We're getting tortured, and there are some people, in my opinion, who are being talked into mass shootings or murdering their neighbor because they think it's the neighbor doing it, or and who knows that terrorism. Who knows if you're hearing the voice of God in your head? Who knows what people could be talked into doing? So I think really the best way we can deal with this is to let everyone know, the normies know, that this is possible, because then, I mean, Richard had a great quote for me when we did our interview, when I did my interview with him. He kind of said that the first 6 months for TIs is the most important, and that's really when we want to catch people, because they don't know what's going on, and some end up dead, some end up in an asylum, some end up maybe in a pool of somebody else's blood. So I think really it's about informing everyone that this is possible, and creating outrage that this is possible, and we should be outraged.
Yes, and it's very important for people to understand too that it could happen to anybody at any time. I think, and this has been said before, but it seems like it suggests that because there's no it doesn't have to necessarily have to have an implant, because these frequencies, this microwave frequencies and everything that can impede you, it can definitely be done. And I think that the difference in us versus the rest of the world is the switch was turned on us. So whether that switch was activated, like, okay, they're maybe doing an analysis of, okay, this person is now in the, high risk, resistance category, right? Or who knows, it could be because of influence of associations, and they just want somebody silenced, right? Because they are prone, or that person is prone to speaking out about, things being done. And let's say that's how we get activated in it. And it could be.
But the craziest thing for me, sorry, Melissa, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go ahead.
The craziest thing for me is in Russia, these weapons and this torture, and this kind of torture was made illegal in 2001. And not too long ago, recently in China, the CCP actually kind of told one of their mainstream newspapers that they're working on brain control weapons for wartime purposes and that kind of thing. So if China can disclose the weapons, and if Russia can make them illegal, and what does that make us? If China's the communist, and yet we're the ones who are really secretive and shady and playing dumb, we don't know what this is. I don't believe that for a second. I don't believe that MI6 and MI5 and the British military and the CIA, I don't believe they don't know what this is. I think they know exactly what this is. And so it's unacceptable in supposed democracies that we are, living in this kind of hush-hush world where these things are kept quiet. Obviously we're trying to kind of get the word out, but then you've got the New York Times writing a headline like, the United States of paranoia, they see gangs of stalkers. That was the New York Times headline. There was something in Vice magazine which had the word delusional about 5 times in the article. So every time this is covered by our media, there is a hint of sarcasm. It's very condescending. There's a question mark put over us. Are we crazy? Are we delusional? Are we paranoid? And really, it's a dereliction of duty on behalf of the media to do this, because they're not reporting. They're kind of swaying to try and persuade everyone else.
Manipulating.
Yes. Yeah, and it's like, we cannot stand for that any longer. But I think the most important thing really for targeted individuals to do is to try and kind of pull the resources, pull the message. When you start saying, I'm sure it's my neighbor zapping me through the wall, that kind of, discredits you because you don't know that for sure. But if you kind of just focus on, look, these weapons, Havana syndrome, and here's what's happened, here's the kind of, background to it from maybe mainstream sources, You had Kurt Weldon, for instance, the gentleman, I think he was a former senator, who went on the Corbett report recently, and he said that yes, it's my experience that the US are working on directed energy weapons, and it's all going to be wireless, frequencies to impact the brain. I include that clip in the film. So yeah, the truth is starting to come out. But it is disappointing as, a Westerner, you're an American, I'm an Englishman, and yet we see Russia, protecting their citizens against this. We see China kind of being open about having this technology and that exists, and yet we've got, our guys saying we think it might be microwaves causing Havana syndrome, but we're not sure. And scientists have got a big. It's like, well, come on, who's doing this? Who's testing these weapons? Because it's coming, I think, from inside my own country. I don't think it's coming from outside. So if the government can't protect me and it can't protect us, then they are liable.
I think that, for people to get buy-in, because again, this is all about spin honesty, right? To get buy-in by the masses, those would not, most people would say, no, I don't want you to put something in my brain, right? And do that physical surgery of that, or surgical implantation. So then it evolved into, a no-touch way of, being able to manipulate someone and to target them and to cloak them in frequency, using the frequency manipulation against others and then of course gauge the response or the resistance and compare minds, one mind versus other minds who are more easily influenced versus it's going to take a little bit more effort. And then obviously we understand that they're obviously gauging pain response, and they can even mimic, pain responses by using frequencies and target those at us as well. And again, like this big data collection experiment that is going on, it's all about perfecting that craft. And we are at the brunt end of that, being the ones being experimented on and tested on. Because who's going to sign up to be tortured, right? Willingly, consentingly, right? Oh, yeah, sign me up for that. But that's where the real, atrocity of this is that those in power, sworn to serve and protect, is the ones that are allowing this to persist. And whether they farm this off to specialized, security groups and laboratory and research facilities and scientists and all of that, and and they go to bed thinking that they're doing this for the future, and they don't, acknowledge the suffering, the pain, and the torture that is being done to each and every individual life. That is just so unnecessary. It's just, this is why it's so important for each of us to spread awareness. And when we're spreading awareness of the clips from Dominic's new film, we need to tag people that are not aware, and of course, along with the politicians and such too. And then also, for our own community, it's comforting to hear that, okay, something has been so beautifully designed and articulated to be our voice. And I think another thing that you said that was very important too is the message of how we get this out. And we need to start speaking from, this is not what it's doing to me personally, but how it's affecting thousands upon thousands of lives around the world. So then that takes it away from somebody judging you in your own person, of thinking that maybe you're delusional or mentally unstable or, volatile. It takes that off of you, and you're speaking in the thousands upon thousands of lives that are suffering through this. And then I think that is a very good strategy. I mean, our community, when you're in, forums and that are related specifically to our community, that is where you can personalize your experience. But when we're advocating for what is being done against us, then we need to speak in the collective we. This is happening to so many peoples, and the anomalous health incidents, the Havana syndrome that mirror those symptoms of the Havana syndrome, and the publications and what media has tried to to state previously about what is going on. Do you have any other tips that you would recommend in addition to those?
Well, no, I mean, I think, you kind of hit the nail on the head of the last one. Being able to show people mainstream media sources is maybe going to make it easier for you to convince them. And whilst, you have articles in the New York Times which are sarcastic and Vice, there are a few articles out there. There's voice-to-skull technology has been covered about 4 or 5 times in Wired magazine. And there's also as I said before, a very good article. It's still a little bit, it does discredit us a little bit, but it's in the Washington Post. Washington Post. It's called Mind Games, and I think it's from 2008, an article from 2008. But it's a very long article, so it covers everything in there. It covers the sexual attacks, and it kind of questions whether it's directed energy weapons, microwaves. So it does kind of say, look, these people are going through something. It isn't sarcastic like the New York Times article is. I think being able to show people a few of those things, to show them the Kurt Weldon video, show them there is a news report which I have included as well in the film, from one of the NBC affiliates, I think the Palm Springs NBC station, local station, where they covered this. So being able to show people mainstream clips from there are a few out there. And I think being able to show people that and to just keep hammering the message, make people make the connection between this and Havana syndrome. When I've talked to people about it, I tried to explain, and then as soon as I said Havana syndrome, it clicked for people. So I think, and as well, visiting those meetings with Anna while I was in Washington DC, what really made a difference to those meetings is her having the burn pictures and showing people, people's faces that have been burnt with this. With these directed energy weapons. So, there are a few things where we get a nice, that do open the door for you. And I think those are the things. So, and for me, I'm making films about it. So, that's what I do. I wouldn't recommend it to everyone. It's a lot of work, but hey.
And you're so gifted and talented at it. It's just so well articulated. It's a heartfelt thanks to you from this whole community for all the efforts that you have put into these films. And I really do foresee that once people view cognitive liberty mind control, that you're probably going to be getting contacted by journalists. So how would those journalists reach out to you? Let's say they see that, a clip and want to get in touch with you.
Well, they can do it through the website. That's one thing actually for targets, is to start tagging journalists from Wired, journalists from big publications, and say, look, I'm in this film, or my friend's in this film, or what I'm going through is in this film. And that's, I think the intention with the film is it's kind of one package with everything that we go through in there, from the kind of psychological abuse that is part of the street theater and the gang stalking, or the home break-ins, and the things the B2K says to you, for instance, and the dream manipulation. Actually, I didn't cover the dream manipulation in the film, but I do experience that as well often. I've kind of put together one package that is a kind of targeted individuals for dummies, if you like, and that's what the new film is. But as I say, it also documents attempts with the US government, with the British government, with the UN, and with the Canadian Parliament to, get some awareness about this. And it shows the reaction, certainly in Washington, it shows the reaction that we get when we try to do that. And I think then, having that on film is then embarrassing to the people that attended those meetings. And so we can kind of hold that up then to Ron Johnson and Jerry Moran and Tulsi Gabbard, and, say, hey, look, please help us. Something's going on. We're not trying to doorstop you and say, hey, we told you and you didn't do anything. But really, what else can we do? We're trying to move the needle here, and it's very difficult when people don't take us seriously or think we're loonies.
Right, and I think your film will raise that bar of accountability. It's like these things cannot be swept under the rug, what is being done to innocent civilians worldwide any longer. It's time for action. There's time for regulations, biologically, cognitively, all of it. It is just so invasive. It's just free will surveillance and interference of our biological structures. I think that this is really going to help open some doors, and I love the suggestion that you made for us to start tagging these news outlets, like you said, publishers of Wired Magazine, Gateway Pundit, all of these, and journalists that are, have, huge followers and such. Someone needs to, be brave in that suit and, take it up and cover it, because again, you have, handed them the, like you said, TIs for dummies, and included all of that pertinent information that gives the receipts that many people around the world are experiencing. This can no longer be deniable, because our voices are out there. We're trying to bring awareness. The film, it does a beautiful job in articulating that. And when you said that the journalists could reach out to your website, are you referring to your TechNative website?
Yeah, they can reach out to me there as well. They can reach out to me on Twitter, and my DMs are open anywhere at all. So I'm sure they won't have any problem getting in touch if they need to.
And for those in attendance and watching, Dominic's X page is at DOM_HALPIN. And then you also have an X page for TechNative at TechNative as well on X. Mm-hmm. The YouTube channel is called Cognitive Liberty. I advise everybody today, go out and subscribe. That way, when the new film is loaded for the Cognitive Liberty Mind Control, you'll get notification. Knowing that it is YouTube, I've experienced a lot of censorship from YouTube as well. So, but then you're going to have it on X. And you said there was another social media that you'll have it as well. What channels?
Yeah, I'm going to put it on X, Rumble, and YouTube. So hopefully that will do. But I mean, failing that, if I get kicked off of YouTube, I do have a kind of business video hosting site that I use called JW Player for my website. So I can host it on my website if all else fails.
And what is your YouTube channel handle? I mean, your Rumble channel, sorry.
I can't remember the exact handle. I think it just might be at Cognitive Liberty, but it's if you search for Cognitive Liberty, you'll find it.
Okay. All right. Everybody needs to do a search and subscribe there as well. So is there a follow-up project that you're thinking about doing after this film? I know you're just now getting past this one, but are any ideas you might be thinking about for the future?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm kind of just putting the last finishing touches to the new one, a few sound tweaks here and there I've been working on today. I haven't really thought about it yet. But then somebody asked me when I finished the first film, what are you going to do now that you've done all this work? The first one was kind of 4 months of work. This one's only taken 2 months, although this one is much better. So yeah, I didn't really have the answer at the time, but I should have said, we'll make another one. But maybe. I mean, I'm hoping, obviously, in an ideal world, this film will be enough to move the needle. But I don't know. I guess keep going, and I'm certainly not going to put up with being, zapped every 30 seconds for the rest of my life. So just keep fighting.
I appreciate all your efforts and everything that you've done for this community.
Thank you, Melissa.
You just have such, God-given talents for pulling all of this information together in a very digestible way for, those that are unaware. So I stand firm with you. I think that this is really going to gain attention of those. It's presented in such a way that, to me, someone who is really a true journalist, they would be a fool not to pick this up and to spread this awareness. Like, again, this is for humanity. This isn't, let's just, pull the covers over our eyes and pretend this doesn't exist anymore. There's just so many things shaking around the world where we have been, it's been revealed that, we've had a lot of deceptions. We came into this earth, under, certain things that we believe that have been debunked since then. So I think the ground is prime. I've always said this. We just have to continue to strike while it's hot. And thanks to you, that needle will move for us.
Well, it's thanks to you as well. You've been dealing with this for a long time, and you're out here spreading the message and giving everyone a platform. So, we've all got a part to play. And I think, as I say, if we pool our resources and keep on going the way we are, I think we're going to get there. I think we will crack this.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up a few comments. I see that the chat has been active here. So I'm going to bring up one here and then get your feedback. All right. There we go. He wasn't wanting me to do it. So Michael says, I think many politicians are protected from neuroweapons, mind control, etc. They have effective countermeasures. Do you believe that that's true too? Or do you think they just are unknowing?
Well, I don't know if this is a countermeasure, but I saw recently that Alex Karp from Palantir had kind of vibrating windows to stop people being able to eavesdrop through the window. So I presume there's something like that. There is some kind of, maybe you can have like white noise or something where you can protect the privacy of your thoughts. Because I mean, can you imagine if our politicians can be mind controlled, then we may as well give up right now. So I think it's possible. I certainly think. Did you know actually in the 70s you'll find it if you search, there was the headlines, I think, for all the articles are mind control attempt on Nixon, and there was somebody who, I think it was more of a drug type scenario. I think they tried to give one of Nixon's inner circle mind control drugs or something, but the CIA actually came out, and it was quite big news in the 70s that there was a mind control attempt on President Nixon's inner circle. So yeah, I mean, we can already see that it's somebody's attempted it, and now that they can do it with frequencies, who knows what they've been beaming at our politicians. I'm more of the belief that our politicians are all blackmailed and bribed than mind controlled, but who knows? This might be an easy way to get them under control than to blackmail them.
Yes, and I think that, in some of the agencies and such, it's like they're sworn into secrecy, otherwise they're committing treason. Right. And I think that's where some people are not comfortable enough to stick, their foot out, and they're aware of these things. For those, we can only hope that, God reaches them and, in bravery to speak out against this for humanity. Because, again, your documentaries and those coming forward, the whistleblowers coming forward where, it's just eating and eroding at their soul. And they're like, I cannot sleep at night until I speak out what I know. And, with that, it's going to be to the point where it can't be denied anymore when more and more whistleblowers have come forward, which there seems to be like a movement of more and more people, make an attempt to do that. I mean, no matter, the mass public might be able to turn their eye away from it by the manipulation of what's being done to perpet the psyop of the delusional and the mentally unstable and volatile narrative, instead of really tuning into what the truth is. To me, I don't watch any mainstream media, because to me, as a targeted person, that it's all spoon fed. It's all here's a couple of jolly moments, heartfelt moments, and then just gaslighting you with terror and misinformation.
Yeah.
Right. So I just choose not to. I wanna roll where the truth is.
I agree.
Let's see if we can find another comment here. I'd flagged a few earlier. I always love the interactions with our TIs and engaging with one another. There have been many thank yous in the chat to you, Dominic, for what you have done in organizing these beautiful documentaries.
Thank you. That's so sweet. I'm flattered and honored.
So Carr says Amazon uses cameras for drivers that can tell if they're tired. Wow. So, I mean, it's there. This technology is there. And I think this is really important. It's kind of like a segue into the spin, the narrative for buy-in. So it's going to promote, these frequencies, these, and stuff can heal someone who has, depression, anxiety, or mental illness. But really behind that, were they already subjected to the frequencies to inspire those? So that's where so it's like, okay, where is that? And also, medical improvement and all of these things, they spin out the positives. But with those positives, nothing is ever stated about you have given your free will authority over your biofield and your mind by consenting to this. And we already know that we didn't consent to this. So there's that too. But I think that's how they will, kind of spin this for more public buy-in until, of course, it gets so apparent about the lack of, governance and procedures in place to protect, someone in their organic state.
Yeah. I mean, I think, we're at the point now where we're realizing that the mind has no protection. You can maybe pick up even if they are weak, wispy signals that the brain gives off, you can pick them up at the right frequencies. And certainly with the new telecommunications infrastructure that we've seen installed recently, the 5G, that operates on a much lower frequency, so on millimeter waves, which means that maybe all of this new kind of telecoms infrastructure actually can already pick up all brain signals within the cell of coverage. And so, as I say, we're now into a world where we have to operate on the presumption that our thoughts are no longer private. And that means everybody, not just the targets.
Yeah, it's well said. I mean, it really has come to it, that you might have a series of thought and maybe get activated in the process of it, or maybe you're thinking about sharing and spreading information, like you said. This journey started with when you retweeted something about the royal family. So that's the reality of this. We hear so many different testimonies where everything overlaps in what they're doing to try to get to us and manipulate us and to scare us or have us self-suicide or make us seem unstable and such. In this day and age, we really have to question and sit with this and not be reactive in such a way that is going to harm us or someone else. That is where we have that free will choice. Yes, these atrocities are being done to us, but we have to regain that sense of urgency over ourselves to do no harm, because the harm is being done to us, but we can't return it with harm. So this has just been such a great discussion. So many people have been stating about they were very excited about the clip and the work that you have done for our community. So again, heartfelt thanks from all of us. Any final words you'd like to tell our audience before we go today?
I would say I hope you enjoy the film. It comes out Wednesday around 7 p.m. UK time, so I don't know what time that would be. It's I think around about 9 o'clock now here. So yeah, it would be kind of your afternoon on Wednesday. Yeah, let me know if you've got any tips for anything that I've missed in the film, or if you want to share your story, we can talk about that maybe for the next one. Open to everything, and keen to get this shut down. So whatever we can do. And yeah, thanks. I appreciate people watching my work.
Excellent, excellent. And again, that live stream, well, not live stream, but you'll be able to access it on Dominic's X page, Rumble, which is Cognitive Liberty, and YouTube. Also, the channel is Cognitive Liberty. So make sure that you subscribe and set your reminders. That way, when it does drop, then it'll be there for you. And as stated earlier in the episode, please tag those independent journalists, tag the media like Wired and Gateway Pundit. We've got to gain traction and visibility on this as you're tagging your local politicians and all around the world. And thank you again for doing this for everybody within this community worldwide. And it's so much appreciated. You've been a real joy to speak with this afternoon.
Thank you, Melissa. It's been my pleasure. I really appreciate you having me.
Thanks so much. And again, I look forward to seeing the film coming out on Wednesday. And thank you and God bless.
God bless.
God bless.